I think I have my last guest because I have to prepare for my own talk, but I'm going to ask you the same question. Who are you and what are you doing at JFOL?
Hey, okay, so my name is Pratik Patel. I lead the developer relations team at Azul Systems, a company that you may know.
Yeah,
So Frank
because
is actually my coworker. So
um, there's a lot of things happening in Java. What's the most important evolution?
yeah, it's a great question. Obviously, Java 21 just came out, right? So JDK 21, and there's loads of great language features in it. And one of the things that's been really nice over the last few years, in my opinion, is that we have been more quickly adding language features to the Java language over the last 3 to 5 years. Because if you remember, we made a gigantic leap when we went into Java 8 with lambdas, right? That
Mhm.
was like a big thing, right? And then of course there wasn't really great backward compatibility between 8 and 9, 10, 11
Mhm.
because there's a bunch of stuff that changed. But for me, it's the pace of the language, getting new features, nice things like records, pattern matching, etc., that help developers write cleaner and better code. Because for me, um, I don't get paid by the number of lines of code I write. I get paid for writing quality software, just like everybody
Mhm.
else. So having that ability to have more expressive Java code, in my opinion, is the most important thing because less code means there's less code to manage, less code to
Okay.
maintain, less code to migrate, easier to understand, all those kinds of things.
Mhm.
So
So you have this very fast evolution, a lot of new versions. How fast are people moving to these new versions?
yeah, that's a great question. So recently, the company that we work at, Azul Systems, we just released a State of Java survey, and Frank will drop a link in for
Mhm.
everybody so you can grab it. And one of the survey questions was, "What version of Java are you currently using?" Right? And what's interesting, and I found a little bit surprising, is the number of people that are on 11, Java 11 and 17. Obviously, the survey was just done very recently
Mhm.
before the Java 21 came out. But there are very few people using 19, 20, 19 and
The
20.
versions in between, yeah.
Um, but I was actually impressed by the number of folks who are on 11 and 17 because the migration path from 11 to 17 is actually, 11, 17 to 21 is actually very easy.
Mhm.
Uh, but of course, it shouldn't surprise me, but it still does. How many people are still using Java 8 or Java 6,
How
right?
old are these?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like I think Java 8 came out 15 years
Yeah.
ago, right? So it's a long time ago.
But
Um,
isn't that also a quality thing for Java? It's 15 years old, but it still runs.
yes, absolutely. This is one of the things when you talk to people in different developer communities, whether it's JavaScript or Elixir or Python or whatever, the fact that Java 8 code or even Java 6 code, right? We have some customers at Azul who are still on the older version. Um, they're still running 6, and they don't really do much with those applications, but it still works. It's rock solid. You would probably be surprised uh, at who's still running old software like that. Things that you rely on,
Mhm.
like your bank or your insurance company or whatever. Some of these companies are still running very old versions of Java, and you're right. It's totally a testament to the deep thought that goes into the evolution of the Java language and ensuring backwards compatibility. And there's still bug
Mhm.
fixes and stuff that come out for mostly security things now for those older versions of Java. So definitely.
You said you are a bit surprised that not a lot of people are on 19 or 20. Is that because most companies stick to these long-term support versions?
Yeah, I think when I think of a typical Java shop, right? Of course, there are startups using Java to build stuff. There are medium-sized companies, and then large companies, and then very large companies like enterprises that are using Java. So I think for me, you see a lot of the smaller companies, startups, the mid-sized companies, are able to shift more quickly to newer versions of Java, and and when I talk to just Java developers in general or Azul customers, what I find is that everyone has a certain level of risk that they're willing to to absorb, right? Because moving from 11 to 12 or 17 to 19 or whatever 18, there's a certain amount of risk that's
Mhm.
involved there, and on top of that, there's a lot of work that needs to go in, right? So and we're maturing in this universe, in our Java universe. People are building stuff using CI and CD pipelines. So you have continuous integration, continuous testing. we're getting better every year in testing these different kinds of things, and we have tools that we didn't have even 5 years ago, like test containers, right? Test containers is a great tool. You can literally run integration type tests. Yes, you have your unit test, but now you get a much more confidence and able to catch bugs with these test container, semi-integration test type of environments. So everything is improving. So I think the velocity at which people will upgrade from 17 to 18, or now from 20 or 17 to 21, whatever. I think the velocity of that and the number of people who do that will probably increase very quickly, because we're as a developer community, we are getting better at automating a lot of the things that introduce that risk into doing a JDK upgrade, right? I mean, for most Java devs, it's like you just flip from 17 to 18 or 21, and it just works, right? But you still want to be careful, especially like, I don't know, if you work for a large bank and you have these transactions going through it, which it's not just the back end for TikTok or something, right? It's like actually something that customers will care very much if it's not correct, kind of thing. So,
and probably it's a good idea for developers to really already start using newer versions, even if they don't use it in production. Because they can experiment with new features, they can see the benefits, and maybe then decide still to bump their production to a newer version, because they're using some new methods which make their developer work easier, and then force it into production.
Actually, you have a really good point there, right? So if I'm a developer and I'm running on Java 17 today, I have two different options I can take, right? I can either go from 17 to 18 when 18 comes out, and then 18 to 19, etc. Or I can just say, you know what, I'm just going to wait until the next LTS version comes out. So the question that I ask myself and I ask other developers is, which path is more suited for your process? Because this is not a technology problem. This is more a process and people problem, right? So if you have the CI pipeline built out and you have the ability to do these nice tests and you're doing those automated tests, then maybe taking those baby steps to the next LTS release is the right thing to do, okay? Or if you're not so confident about, do you have everything tested, then you probably want to, say, okay, let's wait till the next LTS and really put some effort behind testing everything. Some of it has to be manual and things like that, right? So, and of course, there's other factors in there, which is what's the licensing look like, right? If I go from 17 to 18, how long is that 18 version supported, right? Do I have to then, do I need to pay for support if I stay on 18 once 19 comes out? So there's a lot of factors that come in. And actually, we at Azul, we have a book called, help me out here, Dummy's Guide to Open JDK Migration, which Frank will also drop a link in so that you can go have a look. And it explains in more detail about that kind of stuff. But the survey that I was referencing, the State of Java survey, it's also definitely worth looking at, because it's interesting to see the different versions that everyone's using. And it's also interesting to see how many people are moving to the cloud or have moved their Java apps to the cloud. What big data platforms are they using? So one thing out of the big data thing that surprised me a little bit was, I thought in my brain that like a lot more people were using Apache Kafka. But actually, yes, there are a lot of people using it, but it's not, the number wasn't nearly as high as I thought it was. I think it was, and again, this is from memory, so I may be wrong, but it was like 30 to 40%. And by now, like every conference you go to, everyone is just talking about Kafka and event streaming, event sourcing and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, of course, at least half the companies out there are using it, but that's actually not the case. So, anyways, the survey is well worth reading, because I think from my own point of view as a developer, it's nice to see what other people are using right now, and hey, am I really far behind the curve, or am I ahead of the curve? Right? It helps me make decisions as a developer and a software architect. That you know what? It looks like a lot of people are like still using Elastic, and a lot of people are still using Kafka. Maybe I should put together a proposal for my own team and think about, is there a fit for those products and what we're trying to build, especially if you're building next generation based architectures based on event streaming like with Kafka. So,
so we invite the people to download the papers and the ebook. Thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Frank.
Thanks a lot for being an interviewee in this podcast, and see you later. Thank you.
Thank you.